the big thing that Fred can't stop talking about, even I'm trying to think, it's now 7, 8, 9 days since, has been the drone show during the opening ceremonies of the Olympics.
Well, Hannah, as I watched the Olympics, I was thinking to myself, but with the opening ceremony, am I bored by most of the opening ceremony? I know politically, I should be saying, oh, it was all really cool.
It was
It's
beautiful
interesting.
and symbolic and lovely.
Yeah, it's interesting to see all the country stuff. I was kind of bored out of my mind because, in fairness to Tokyo, they didn't have a lot to work with the pandemic. But then at one moment during the ceremony, they came out with this drone, these drones. And
I was going to say, it just wasn't one.
It was like 1,800 drones that turned from the Olympic symbol into a globe. And we both know, because we've had this person on before, we do have a guy, we have David Plummer, who is the owner of Aerial Influence, which is a drone company in the Midwest. David, welcome back to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you. And I can't help but thinking, as I watched 1,800 drones do their thing, walk us through, how does that happen? How do you even control 1,800 drones?
Sure. So, a lot of these drones now, they've got autonomous functions built into them. So, you can, essentially on your remote control, you can set waypoints where you want this drone to go. So at that point, you're not even really flying the drone. You are just basically hitting go, and that drone is going to follow the path that you have set ahead of time. And what they did at the Olympics is they just did that on a mass scale. They did it with a swarm of drones. So each one of those drones is essentially programmed to reach certain points throughout that little program that they put into the software. And as the drones do that, obviously when they do it at the right time, it's going to create some really cool looking pictures. And in the way they do it, it's very much like 3D animation. So they'll literally draw an image that they want the drones to form and essentially take it through some software that will then tell the drones, here's where you're supposed to fly during this program. It's really remarkable.
So how do you prevent one of those drones from going rogue and going crazy and screwing up the entire globe?
Well, I think the good thing on this is they're all such individual points of light that if one drone, say a battery died on it or something and it fell, or it just went haywire, you may not notice it so much because some of these are 500 or more drones. So, in essence, you may not miss one drone. The smallest one of these I've seen in terms of swarms has been about 100. So even there, I think you wouldn't have to worry too much, but the technology is so good that honestly, the fact of losing even one drone out of 500 is very, very small.
If you saw, I don't know if you got to see some of the numbers of firework accidents this year, which were pretty significant. I think there were like 15,000 accidents that sent people to the hospitals. And you got to think, wouldn't there be a way to use drones instead of people just lighting fireworks and saving their lives?
Absolutely. I mean, think of the wildfires we've had, guys. I mean, many of them have been started by using fireworks. And in different parts of the world, they're already using drones to replace fireworks ceremonies in a lot of different ways. But yeah, the injuries, you're going to cut down on the injuries, but the wildfires especially was the one that struck me. You've got a lot of those fires that are started with somebody just shooting off bottle rockets, and it turns out to be tragedy later.
So in addition to Hannah, in addition to the entertainment, of which there's a ton of ways that you can use drones for entertainment, there's also what I would call the business side. And that business side is everything that your company is doing, from spraying fields to control, I don't know if you're controlling COVID, but you're certainly sanitizing fields, to farmers who want you to feed their koi on thousands upon thousands of acres.
Crazy.
Where have you been able to take advantage of that during the pandemic, and what have you learned? So the pandemic, one of the things that we learned, especially, is that drones are sort of the perfect social distancing tool for businesses in a lot of different ways. You can get a lot of things done, from inspection work construction work. You can do a lot of pre-planning, that sort of thing, using a drone. So it really, in some ways, has been a benefit to us in that way. But one of the cool ways we got to use the drone, we got to go down to the Carolina Panthers football stadium, NFL stadium. This was right toward the beginning of the pandemic, to basically do a demonstration on how we could spray the entire stadium using a drone and, essentially kill coronavirus before or after a game. Now, at the time, the NFL schedule was up in the air. We didn't know if we were going to have it at all. So at the time, they decided to pass on it. And there's a little bit of a stigma too. Drones that spray, it scares people. We completely understand that as well. The other thing that we've really seen an increase in, and continue to see an increase in, is public safety. They're using them every single day to save lives, to find missing people. That has been like one of the early adopters for us, and it just continues to get stronger and stronger. Those are really saving lives, having a big impact, saving both pedestrian lives and the police officers as well. So.
I mean, there's so many. That's my favorite use of this, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's lovely and beautiful and we can do great things and it'll be safer, but the human safety for our first responders is remarkable, because you can have a drone that can see hot spots within fires, can see where structurally things aren't as sound, so we don't put our firefighters on or in an area where they're not going to be safe, where we couldn't see that before,
or they can't get to.
Right.
Yep.
Miami, think about the collapse of that tower, that apartment building. Drones can go in for search and rescue and do heat signatures and all kinds of things that you have taught me. And so I'm preaching to the choir, but it is remarkable to me that something that I can buy at Sharper Image or at Aerial Influence
Exactly.
at a much bigger level. David's drones are not like toy drones. I have been
for those of you watching, the drone behind me, that's a drone. It's bigger. I mean, it's a giant agricultural drone that can lift about over 100 pounds. And
Sharon, Fred's wife is very angry with you right now, because now Fred wants one of the Aerial Influence.
That looks like a cool toy. But to your point, it's not used as a toy. So if you're a hobbyist versus a fire department chief, and you've got to fill out your city budget, and you want 3 drones for your fire department in Indiana, what are we talking about from a cost standpoint?
So it can be anywhere as low as $7,000. That's going to get you like a thermal drone that can go into small places. It's very quickly deployable. It's got a spotlight on it, a speaker on top of it. That would be one drone. 3 of them, you're talking about $20,000. If you're looking at a bigger drone that can do really like top of the line, amazing functions, you're looking closer to $30,000. It is very expensive. But the cost of a life, I guess, can you put a price on that? And we don't think you can. So.
And and being able to have these readily available, even through departments that you can then rent or buy, or however you want to do it. I mean, some of the equipment that they're purchasing anyway is incredibly expensive. So this makes so much sense. To me, I'm actually, every time I talk to you, I'm like, there's more and more and more uses. The entertainment value of it, though, aside from it's fun to not slide into a tree, but to see it be these beautiful images, really.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, I think one of the things, so, I run the business with my business partner, Michael Ferguson, and, one of the things we see every day, I mean, it all started for us with seeing like, oh, drones can make some really beautiful images. You guys know my background was in television for a long time.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, wow, look how cool this little thing, I can get like aerial images now that would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars in the past.
Yeah.
But what we've seen since then is all these different industries, from engineering. You mentioned the Miami building. Not only could the drone help the folks that are missing and that were missing, but also it could help, to see how structurally sound that building was before it crumbled. It can read those heat signatures. It can do it. LiDAR is another thing that would take me forever to explain, but that is something as well that, can see those things in a building and go, hey, there's something not right in this area. and could have potentially, stopped that horrible situation.